Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Books and Bytes. Today we're taking a deep dive into Kamala Harris's memoir, The Truths We Hold, An American Journey.
Oh, yeah, this one was really interesting. It's not just like a dry recounting of like facts and dates and things. She's really good at like weaving together stories and policy to give you a sense of like, you know, her values and the things that made her who she is.
Okay, cool. So before we really get into it, can you give us a quick summary? Like, what are the main points here?
Well, one of the biggest things is like truth and justice. I mean, it's right there in the title. And her childhood really shows that. Growing up during the civil rights movement, it like really made her believe in fighting for what's right, even when it's hard. And she takes that belief with her, through her whole career, from when she was a prosecutor to attorney general and then senator.
Yeah, that makes sense. So let's start at the beginning with like Jerilis,
Yeah.
her origin story. Can you tell us more about that? Like, how did her upbringing shape her worldview?
Yeah, so her parents were immigrants. They met at Berkeley during the civil rights movement, and they were really active in it. I mean, imagine going to marches as a baby in a stroller. That's got to shape how you see the world,
Yeah, for sure. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and it like really instilled in her this sense of like responsibility to keep fighting for justice.
It's really remarkable how all those early experiences kind of set the stage for everything she did later.
Totally. And the book does a good job of like painting a picture of her childhood in Oakland and Berkeley, where she was surrounded by this really vibrant Black community that gave her a lot of support. And she talks about her church a lot, which was a really important part of her life. So all these experiences really taught her the importance of community and fighting for those who are marginalized.
Yeah, and you can definitely see that connection when she goes to Howard University, which is a historically Black university. And she becomes president of the Black Law Students Association. So it seems like becoming a prosecutor was kind of a natural next step, like working within the system.
To fight for
justice.
Right? And that's actually a really interesting point because a lot of people question why she became a prosecutor. It's not usually seen as a very progressive career path, but she makes the argument that to make real change, you have to work within the system. And in the book, she talks about her early days in the Alameda County District Attorney's Office, where she prosecuted child sexual assault cases, which is really tough work, but it really solidified her commitment to using the law to protect people.
You can really sense like her frustration, though, with the limitations of the system. Even as she's trying to make a difference.
Yeah, definitely. And that's like a big theme throughout the book, this tension between wanting to change things, but also working within the existing structure. She has this really powerful story from when she was an intern about seeing a woman who was wrongfully detained, being released from custody. And she talks about the look of relief on the woman's face and how it made her realize that even someone with limited authority could still make a difference in getting justice for people.
Wow, that's a really powerful story.
Yeah, it really shows her belief in the power of individual action, even within a flawed system.
Yeah. That's amazing.
It is.
So, so it seems like that experience really fueled her desire to reform the system from within.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Like when she becomes district attorney in San Francisco, she starts these innovative programs like Back on Track.
Yeah, Back on Track was amazing. It was all about breaking the cycle of recidivism.
Yeah, can you explain that a little more? What made it so innovative?
Well, it was groundbreaking because it gave nonviolent drug offenders a chance to like turn their lives around.
Okay.
Instead of just punishment, it was more about rehabilitation.
So it was about giving people a second chance.
Exactly. It gave them education, job training, life skills, all the things they needed to get back on their feet.
And it wasn't just like a feel-good program. It actually worked.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They tracked the results carefully, and they found that people who went through the program were much less likely to reoffend.
That's great. So it was a real success story.
Definitely. It became a model for other places. It even expanded statewide.
Wow. That's really impressive.
Yeah. And it shows how committed she was to finding better solutions within the criminal justice system.
And this approach, like this focus on rehabilitation, it seems to show up in her work on other issues, too.
Oh, absolutely. Like with cash bail reform.
Right.
She was really vocal about that. She argued that it unfairly punished poor people and minorities because they couldn't afford to pay. So she pushed for alternatives.
So this theme of fighting for the underdog keeps coming up.
Yeah, definitely. And it's really put to the test. When she becomes Attorney General of California, she takes on all these powerful interests big banks, pharmaceutical companies. She's always fighting for the everyday people of California.
There's that story about her hanging up on Jamie Dimon.
Oh, yeah.
The CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase.
During the foreclosure crisis.
It really shows how tough she can be.
That's a great story. She wouldn't back down from what she believed in.
Even when she was facing one of the most powerful people in the financial world.
Exactly. She was determined to protect homeowners who were being treated unfairly.
So that she wasn't afraid to ruffle some feathers.
Not at all.
To stand up to power.
Nope.
But it wasn't just about those big fights.
Right.
She also focused on issues that often get overlooked.
Yeah, like truancy.
Truancy.
Yeah, she recognized that. Kids skipping school was often a sign of bigger problems.
Like what?
Poverty, unstable housing, lack of resources.
Okay.
So she worked to address those root causes.
That's interesting.
Yeah, she was always trying to dig deeper and find real solutions.
It sounds like she wasn't content with just scratching the surface.
Nope. She wanted to understand the complexities of the issues.
And then she was elected to the U.S. Senate, which is a huge moment.
It was historic. The first Black woman elected to the Senate from California.
And then she gets on the Senate Intelligence Committee.
Right.
Which is like a whole different world.
It is. It's super secretive.
And she gives us this rare glimpse into that world.
Yeah.
Like with cybersecurity and threats to our democracy.
Yeah, she talks about those SCIFs.
SCIFs.
Yeah, sensitive compartmented information facilities.
Okay.
Where they discuss classified information.
So it's like stepping into a spy movie?
Kind of.
So cool.
Yeah.
What were some of the key takeaways from her time on the committee?
Well, one thing she really emphasizes is how much the threats have changed in the digital age.
Okay.
Like cyber warfare. It's this silent battleground. But it can be really devastating.
Wow.
So she talks about the importance of protecting our elections from foreign interference.
Right.
And safeguarding our infrastructure.
Like the power grids and stuff.
Exactly. And just understanding the whole landscape of cybersecurity.
It's amazing to think that she went from prosecuting child sexual assault cases to dealing with these high-level national security threats.
I know, it's quite a jump.
But you can see how her experience as a prosecutor would be helpful.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Her analytical skills, her ability to connect the dots.
Right.
Those are all valuable in this new arena.
And she doesn't shy away from controversy either, like with climate change. Her questioning of Mike Pompeo.
Oh, yeah.
When he was CIA director.
That was a big moment.
She really challenged him.
She did.
On his stance on climate change as a national security threat.
Right.
It was like she was forcing a conversation about the long-term impacts of climate change on global stability.
She was saying that climate change isn't just an environmental issue.
Right.
It's a threat multiplier.
Okay.
It can make existing tensions worse, lead to mass displacement, destabilize entire regions.
And she wasn't just raising the alarm.
Right.
She was also proposing solutions.
Yeah.
Like a diversified water security strategy, investments in renewable energy, a global effort to address the crisis.
She brought all her experience to bear on this issue.
It's amazing how she can think so strategically and act so decisively.
She's a force to be reckoned with.
And then there was her questioning of Gina Haspel.
Oh, yeah.
During her confirmation hearing.
Oh.
To become CIA director.
That was intense.
She really pressed her.
She did.
About her involvement in the CIA's torture program.
It was a tough conversation.
But an important one.
Absolutely.
It was about accountability.
Yeah.
Even within institutions.
That operate in secrecy.
And it showed Harris's commitment to human rights.
Right.
Her belief that America needs to hold itself to a higher standard.
It's a powerful message.
And it ties into this idea that runs throughout the book.
What's that?
That speaking truth to power, even when it's uncomfortable, is essential to protecting our democracy.
She connects this idea to everyday issues, too, like what the cost of living crisis. Right. She talks about how the economy isn't working for a lot of people.
Right.
And she uses this really personal example.
What's that?
Her mother's handwritten recipe.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
It's this really touching detail.
It is. It makes the issue so much more relatable.
Exactly.
It's not just about statistics.
Right.
It's about real people struggling.
And she doesn't just complain. She offers solutions, too.
Like what?
expanding the earned income tax credit, increasing the minimum wage, making childcare more affordable.
So she's connecting her personal experiences with her policy ideas.
Exactly.
It's all part of her vision.
For a more just and equitable America.
That's really powerful.
It is. It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected and that our well-being is tied to the well-being of our communities.
Yeah. That's a really important message.
It is.
Yeah, it's like this idea that we're all in this together.
Exactly.
We have a shared responsibility.
Yeah, and that's really at the heart of her vision for America. You know, this vision of justice, equality, opportunity for all. These are the things that have always defined America, even when we haven't lived up to them.
And she connects those ideals to a lot of the issues we're facing today, like immigration reform, criminal justice reform, healthcare.
It's not just about principles. It's about how those principles translate into action, into policies that actually affect people's lives.
There's this one passage in the book that really stuck with me.
Oh, yeah. Which one?
She says, "We cannot build an economy that gives dignity and decency to American workers unless we first speak truth. That we are asking people to work harder than ever before for less."
Wow. That's powerful.
It is. It's like she's saying.
Yeah.
That the system is broken.
Yeah, it's a real indictment of the current economic system.
And a call for a more just and equitable society.
Absolutely.
It's like she's saying, we can't just accept things as they are. We have to speak out against injustice.
Demand better for ourselves and for our communities.
And she doesn't stop there. She actually talks about how people can get involved.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Voting, volunteering, advocating for policies.
It's a real call to action.
It is.
She's saying that. Change doesn't just happen. We have to make it happen.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the truths we hold, what are your final thoughts? Why should someone read this book?
Oh, I think it's a really unique perspective on the American experience. It's personal, but it's also about these bigger ideas of justice, equality, and the challenges we face in trying to live up to those ideals.
It's also really inspiring.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like you come away feeling like you can actually make a difference.
Exactly, that your voice matters.
And that's really the message she wants to leave us with.
Right.
That we all have a role to play.
In shaping the future of our country.
That's beautifully said.
Thanks.
This has been a really insightful deep dive. I encourage everyone listening to pick up the truths we hold and form your own opinions. There's so much to think about here, and I'm sure you'll find it just as thought-provoking as we did. Until next time, happy reading.